Since Michael made the decision to become a full-time stay-at-home father, things in our family have changed somewhat. As Alice, I balanced my hard work and motherhood, appreciative but sometimes uneasy about our unusual arrangement. Michael called out from the kitchen, "Emily, sweetheart, it's time for breakfast." He usually had a hint of excitement in his voice, particularly when he spoke about our daughter. Emily's little feet pattered across the floor. "Coming, Daddy." Her happy disposition served as a continual reminder of the purity and innocence in our world. I observed them while leaning against the door frame. Michael had taken a weekend cooking class for parents and was now proficient at flipping pancakes. With much anticipation, Emily sat at the kitchen table. "Look, Mommy, Daddy's making his special pancakes." I grinned, my heart exploding with love for our little family. "They look delicious, honey. Daddy has become quite the chef, hasn't he?" With a light-hearted grin on his lips, Michael cast a quick check behind him. I have to keep up with the culinary expectations of my two favorite girls. The sound of our laughing and the warm smell of pancakes filled the room. This was a typical day in our idyllic little world. However, I've discovered that life has a way of bringing unanticipated hues to our well-painted canvas. After a difficult divorce, my sister-in-law Clara's daughter, Sophie, started spending more time with us. Although it was a shift, we welcomed it heartily. As I was arranging the table for another person, I asked Michael, "Sophie will be joining us for breakfast, right?" Michael said, sounding a little worried. "Yes. Clara dropped her off early this morning. She's been such a brave girl, handling the changes so well." Sophie appeared in the kitchen as if on cue, her bashful grin illuminating the space. "Good morning, Aunt Alice, Uncle Michael." "Good morning, Sophie," I said with affection. "Ready for some of Michael's famous pancakes?" After giving a nod, Sophie sat down next Emily. "Yes, thank you. They smell really good." There was something so proud about Emily and Sophie that I couldn't help but notice. They were like sisters, and even with all of the upheaval in Sophie's life lately, she appeared to find solace at our house and in our family's company. Michael put a plate of pancakes in front of each of us and said, "Okay, everyone, breakfast is served." As we shook hands, as is our little custom, Michael offered a little grace and expressed gratitude for all of life's gifts, as well as his ability to overcome obstacles. The laughing and conversation that accompanied our meal created a supportive and loving atmosphere. In these times, I understood that family is about more than simply biological ties. It's about the relationships we create and maintain, as well as the unconditional love we all share. But there were subtle undercurrents moving under the surface of this blissful domesticity, laying the groundwork for a narrative none of us could have imagined. It was just another typical morning, busy and racing to work, when I saw the first changes in Emily. The morning was like any other, with everyone running about getting ready for work. While making breakfast, Michael started humming a song in the kitchen. Our tiny energy ball, Emily, was very quiet. I put a platter of scrambled eggs in front of Emily and said, "Emily, are you not hungry today?" With downcast eyes, she just shook her head. Michael looked at me bewildered, then shrugged and carried on buttering bread. I knelt next to her chair and probed, "Sweetie, what's wrong?" Emily just shrugged her shoulders. She used to be quite chatty and would often tell tales about her fantasy travels and toys. It was not like her to be silent like this. In an attempt to lighten the situation, Michael remarked, "Maybe she's just not a morning person today." "Right, Princess?" Emily, however, did not say anything, her little fingers tinkering with the edge of her dish. Though I had to get out for work, this uncomfortable sensation persisted. Emily abruptly grabbed my leg as I reached for my coat. She said, "Mommy, don't go," in a voice so little that it almost made me cry. I turned to face Michael, silently pleading for assistance. He approached and carefully withdrew Emily's fingers from my leg. He lifted her into his arms and comforted her, saying, Hey, it's okay. Mom has to go to work, but I'm here, right? We'll have a fun day together." "But I want Mommy," Emily said with shaking voice and tears welling up in her eyes. I had a guilty feeling. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "Sweetheart." I'll be back before you know it. I love you, she muttered, her head resting on Michael's shoulder. Love you too, Mommy. Michael's voice came from the doorway as I made my way to the vehicle. She'll be fine, Alice. It's just one of those days. Emily's once bright laugh started to become dull as the days went by, and her persistence made me worry. Bright and early one morning, I was mentally disoriented about impending meetings as I packed for an unexpected work trip. At that moment, Michael entered the room with an odd sparkle in his eye. He leaned casually against the doorway and said, Hey, Alice, I've been thinking. Why don't I take Emily and Sophie out for a trip while you're away? It might be good for them, especially Emily. She's been a bit clingy lately, don't you think? I hesitated, weighing his comments. That's actually a great idea, Mikhail. But are you sure you can handle both of them? It sounds like a handful. He laughed, and I used to find comfort in that sound. His assurance was comforting. Oh, come on, I've got this. I'm the super dad, remember? He said. A bit relieved, I grinned. All right, then. I think Emily would love that. And it'll be good for Sophie, too, after everything she's been through. Emily came in, her little face cast in a pout as I closed the luggage. Mommy, are you leaving now? I knelt to meet her eye level and said, Just about to, sweetie. But guess what? Daddy's planning a fun trip for you and Sophie while I'm gone. Isn't that exciting? Her face remained unchanged. I don't want to go on a trip. I want to stay with you. Observing her in such distress gave me a pang of remorse. I know, honey, but I'll be back before you know it, and you'll have so much fun with Daddy and Sophie. Michael knelt down next to me and rested a hand on Emily's shoulder. It's going to be an adventure, Em. You'll see. We'll have so much fun, and we'll tell Mommy all about it when she gets back. With her eyes seeking for anything in his face, Emily turned to face him. She nodded after a little interval, but she wasn't completely persuaded. I looked back as I walked out of the home with my bag and saw Michael, Emily, and Sophie waving from the threshold. Emily's little hand seemed to be lost in Michael's hold. I arrived home early from my work trip and noticed an odd quietness as I got closer to our home. The clouds above reflected the disquietude that was creeping into my heart. There was stillness, where I was expecting to see Emily playing in the yard or hear her laughing. Emily? Michael? I'm home early, I yelled as I pushed open the gate, but there was no answer. As I made my way to the home and looked around for them, my pulse raced. It was then that I spotted the storage shed situated in the yard's corner. Why did it close? We didn't utilize it very much. I had a terrifying notion, so I sped up to the shed and yelled, Emily, are you in there? Once again, just as I got to the shed, I heard something faint. Was that crying? As I struggled with the lock, my hands shook, and my fear became more by the moment. Emily, sweetheart, if you're in there, please answer me. At last, the door opened, letting in a pale inner light. My little Emily was there, hunched in the corner, her face streaked with tears, and her eyes wide with fright. She yelled, Mommy! And threw herself into my arms. I took her in my arms and held her close, my heart exploding at her fear and loneliness. I stammered to keep my voice calm as I questioned, What happened, Emily? How did you end up in here? Daddy, he told me to find something in here. Then the door closed. I couldn't open it, she managed to explain through sobbing. A wave of incredulity and rage washed over me. Michael really did this? He locked you in here? I was unable to understand. I knew another Michael, not this one. Emily was brought back into the home and placed on the couch. She clung to me, trembling all over. I'm here, baby. You're safe now. It's okay. I reassured her in a whisper. Michael entered at that moment, his expression a mask of perplexity. Alice, you're home early. What's going on? I got up and turned to face him, my voice frigid with rage. What's going on? Why was our daughter locked in the shed, Michael? With his gaze darting away, he paled. I thought she was with you. I didn't know. Lies, I yelled. Emily said you told her to go in there. How could you do this to your own daughter? As he said, It was just a misunderstanding. I didn't mean for... Michael stammered. I interrupted him. A misunderstanding? She was terrified, Michael. This is unforgivable. Emily's little frame was still quivering as she buried her face in my side. I encircled her with one arm while scowling at Michael. We need to talk, but not in front of Emily. She's been through enough. After showing Emily to her room, I put her favorite stuffed animal to bed with her. I gave her a forehead kiss and assured her, "It will all work out, my love." After I cautiously shut the door, Sophie approached me with eyes that were much heavier than their years. "Aunt Alice, we need to talk," she said in a tremulous tone. I sensed a terrifying preface to facts that were yet to come, revelations that would rock the very bedrock of my love and trust for Michael. "Sophie, you know you can tell me anything," I said softly at the beginning. Slowly nodding, Sophie kept her eyes on her twitching hands. "Aunt Alice, I don't know how to say this." Despite my racing heart, I reassured her. "Just take your time, sweetie. Whatever it is, we'll get through it together." She inhaled deeply before the words started to flow, each one coming out more forceful than the previous. "Uncle Michael, he's been asking me to pose for photos. At first, it was just normal pictures, but then he started asking for different kinds of poses. He said it was our little secret." My heart felt icy. "Sophie, please look at me," I firmly said. When she raised her gaze to mine, I saw dread there, and it sparked a never-before-seen rage within of me. "This is not your fault, do you understand? You did nothing wrong." Sophie muttered, her voice shaking. "But he said if I didn't, he'd tell my mom that I was being difficult, that she'd be upset because I was causing trouble." I felt a boiling mixture of contempt and rage as the pieces came together. The abrupt shift in Emily's demeanor, her withdrawal, the vacation, all of it was a front, a pretext for Michael's unsettling behavior. I extended my hand to grab Sophie's. "Sophie, we need to confront Michael about this. Can you be brave for me? I'll be right there with you." She nodded and used the back of her palm to dab at a tear. We got up and moved together to the room Michael was in. My heart raced with furious protectiveness, in addition to terror. "Michael," I murmured, maintaining a calm tone despite the internal turmoil. He glanced up, a look of bewilderment that became to worry at the sight of Sophie's tear-stained face. "What's going on? Sophie, are you okay?" I get right to the point. "Michael, Sophie told me about the photos, about how you've been making her pose and threatening her. How could you?" Michael looked pallid. "Alice, it's not like that. It's just..." My voice raised, accusatory and cutting. "Just what, Michael? Just innocent fun? Just a little secret?" "You've crossed a line you can never step back from." Retightening her grip on my palm, Sophie provided a steadying influence amongst the turmoil around us. "Please, Alice, you have to understand. I never meant..." Michael said, his justifications trailing off as he saw my determination. "Reserve your justifications," I cut you off icily. "I want you out of this house, out of our lives, and I want those photos deleted. Now." Sophie's comments reverberated eerily in my mind, conjuring up an unexpected and unsettling image of Michael. I started the difficult process of going through court fights and divorce processes to shield Emily and Sophie from the man who had previously been our pillar of support, my heart heavy with betrayal and my determination softened by mother instinct. I shuddered a little as I perused the divorce decrees. I didn't think my life would turn out like this. Emily was in the living room playing quietly, her typical bright laugh giving way to a more muted one. It served as a sobering reminder of how Michael's actions affected our little world. A knock on the door was heard. Steeling myself, I took a long breath and opened it to see Sophie's mother, Clara, standing there with resolute but red-rimmed eyes. I moved aside and said, "Come in, Clara." She looked at the papers on the table as she entered and nodded slightly, melancholily. You're doing the right thing, Alice. With a groan, I took a seat again. I know, but it's hard. The man I married, I never thought he could do something like this. Have you talked to him about it? Said Clara, who had taken a seat opposite me. I gave a headshake. No, I can't face him, not after what Sophie told us. How are you handling things with her? With a cracked voice, Clara said, She's struggling. But she's brave, braver than I ever realized. She told me everything last night about the photos, the trip, everything. I felt a wave of rage come over me, saying, It's inexcusable that he would manipulate and scare our kids in that way. Clara stretched across the table and covered my hand with hers. We have to protect them, Alice. That's what matters now. Emily happened to stroll into the kitchen at that same moment, holding her beloved teddy rabbit. Her eyes were unsure and big. Mommy, is Daddy coming back? Was the little frail sound in her voice. With a broken heart, I knelt before her. No, sweetie, he's not. But we're going to be okay, just you and me. And Aunt Clara and Sophie will be with us too. But why, Mommy? Why can't Daddy come back? Clara came up and put her arm around Emily. Sometimes people make very bad choices, and they can't be around us anymore. But we love you so much, and we're going to take good care of you. Emily's youthful face crumpled in uncertainty and anguish as she gazed between us. I gave her a strong embrace as my intense protective instinct kicked in. I promise you, Emily, we'll get through this, I said as I fought back tears. Emily nodded and clung to me, but I saw Clara above her head. We exchanged a determined glance. For the sake of our girls, we would travel any road together, no matter how challenging. Picking up a pen, I turned back to the divorce paperwork. This was not only a procedural matter, it was a proclamation, a promise to protect our kids from danger going forward. I felt a weird mixture of resolve and anguish as I signed my name. Even though we were reconstructing our lives, there remained a persistent sense of dread that dominated the process. Michael let a darker part of himself to take over because he was unable to accept the divorce and the loss of his family. One peaceful evening, when Emily was playing in her room and I was thinking about our fresh start, the past made an unwanted comeback. "Mommy, Daddy's here," Emily said, breaking the stillness in our living room with a combination of surprise and delight. My spine tingled with a chill as my heart skipped a beat. How? My diligence in keeping our new address a secret paid off. When I glanced out the window, I saw Michael standing at our doorway with his eyes seeking and yearning. I was filled with fear, not just for Emily, but also for myself. He'd located us somehow, piecing together our whereabouts from Emily's carefree discussions, in his quest for vengeance over the divorce. I said, "Stay here, Emily," attempting to hide my terror behind a serenity I didn't feel. My head was buzzing with questions as I walked up to the door. What was it he desired? Did he come to pick up Emily? To face me head-on? I unlatched the chain and opened the door. "Michael, you shouldn't be here." His expression was one of anguish and rage. "Alice, I just want to talk. I want to see Emily." I remained steadfast, speaking with a voice full of determination to shield my daughter and myself from his capricious intents. "You can't be here, Michael. You need to leave." He was so different from the guy I knew in the past that he begged, his voice cracking. However, I detected an unpleasant resolve beneath their crease, an assurance that this was not the last time we would see him. I shut the door and embraced Emily, comforting her while my thoughts raced within about ways to increase our security. The impending return of Michael cast a shadow over us, serving as a clear reminder that the past wasn't yet ready to let go of us. Since Michael's sudden arrival, there has been a noticeable sense of tension in our new house. I tried to get everything back to normal, but the worry of what Michael might do next hung over me like a thundercloud. The phone called one evening as I was tucking Emily in for the night, its high-pitched voice cutting through the silence. "Hello?" I cautiously replied. His voice was a mixture of desperation and rage as he said, "Alice, it's Michael. I need to see Emily. You can't keep her from me." Squeezing the phone tighter, I tried not to lose my cool. "Michael, you know the court's decision. You can't just demand to see her. Especially not like this, he shot back. But she's my daughter too. You've turned her against me. I won't let you ruin our family. Our family was ruined the moment you chose to betray our trust, I said, trying not to let my dread get the better of me. You need to respect the legal boundaries set in place. There was a pause, and for a split second, I thought he may get it. However, what he said next chilled me to the bone. If I can't be part of her life, then you'll see what it means to lose something precious. The call ended. His menacing remarks lingered in my thoughts, a clear warning that he was preparing something extreme. I gazed at Emily, her naive gaze oblivious to the impending tempest. I had a hard time falling asleep that night since I was always on high alert. Born out of his inability to see Emily, Michael's desire for vengeance had become a terrible obsession. I made the decision to take extra safety measures the next day. I gently stated to Emily, "Emily, we're going to have some new rules around the house, okay? It's important that we stay safe." With uncertainty on her little face, she inquired, "Is Daddy going to come back?" Wishing I could protect her from this brutal truth, I gave her a hug. "I'm not sure, sweetie, but I'm here, and I'll always protect you." Michael's warning weighed heavily on my mind as I drove to the local police station. My main motivation was the urge to keep Emily safe and make sure we were all together. I told our tale to the empathetic officer sitting across from me in the bleak, fluorescent-lit chamber. My voice faltered, revealing the dread I was trying so hard to hide. "Officer, my ex-husband has been making threats. He's not supposed to contact us, but he's been calling, showing up at our house." The guy in the center, the officer, had sympathetic eyes and nodded gravely. "Can you tell me exactly what he said, Ms. Alice?" I calmed down by taking a big breath. He said, "If I can't be part of her life, then you'll see what it means to lose something precious." I'm scared for my daughter, for what he might do. The cop wrote notes, his visage hardening. We take threats like these very seriously, especially in domestic situations. We can offer you additional protection and keep an eye on your residence. Have you considered a restraining order? I gave a nod. Yes, I have one in process, but his behavior is becoming more unpredictable. We'll do everything we can to help you feel safe, he promised me. I'll also have officers patrol near your home more frequently. A brief feeling of relief filled me as I walked out of the police station, but it was soon eclipsed by the truth of our circumstances. Beyond my wildest expectations, Michael's obsession and threats had become worse. I was aware that the journey ahead would be difficult, but I was committed to going above and beyond to safeguard Emily and minimize the disruption this chaos caused to her environment. Over the next several months, Emily and I started to feel a shaky feeling of serenity. We had relocated once again, this time to a location that was inaccessible to Michael. With its bright interior and kind neighbors, our new house seemed like a haven. However, in quieter times, the ghosts of the past continued to linger. Emily's large, inquisitive eyes met my one evening as we were unloading the last of our boxes. "Mommy, will Daddy find us here?" I bent down and held her little hands in mine. My assurance was more for myself than for her when I said, "No, sweetheart. The police are making sure of that." A few days later, the news was both unexpected and reassuring. The police called to let me know that Michael had been taken into custody. He had tried to break into our last home without realizing we had relocated. The phone officer informed Ms. Alice that he's in custody now. He won't be bothering you or Emily anymore. Relief, grief, and a lingering remorse for the guy Michael had previously been to us were all mixed together in my mind. Above all, however, was a feeling of resolution. "Thank you, officer," I said, feeling as if a burden had been lifted. This was the conclusion of one chapter, and the start of a new one, I thought, as I hung up. At last, Emily and I could reconstruct our lives without fear. Day after joyful day, we could anticipate restful evenings and tranquil days. Emily's voice pulled me back to the present, asking, "Mommy, are you okay?" I gave her a grin, filled with hope again. "Yes, Emily, we're going to be just fine." We started making new acquaintances, habits, and memories from that point on. The pain of the past gradually receded, eclipsed by the promising future we were creating together. We had finally found serenity, I realized as I watched Emily play in our new garden, her laughter pure and unrestrained.